Mr. Rank was an incredibly widely known man across the Clovis Unified School District and across the country. He was loved, respected, and inspiring to children and educators. When he passed, no one had words. Everyone was mournful and terribly sad, but his legacy was not forgotten, and neither was his philosophy. This documentary is about his legacy and about how he touched so many people in such an incredible way.
My name is Ryan Getman. I'm the current principal at Bud Rank Elementary. I know Mr. Bud Rank from my first year teaching here. I was the third grade teacher with his daughter, Judy Rank. So I taught third grade here, and I remember Bud coming out during the construction and touring the mud and the dirt and all the construction with the staff that was newly hired. And what a great man. Would come out the first few years to every game. I remember giving him golf cart rides out as I became GIS my second year, but always was a huge fan of Bud Rank and very giving man. Gave a lot of money to the school. We bought our first golf cart for admin through Mr. Rank and library books, and we actually still have some of that money for some special projects we're going to do here around Bud Rank.
Groundbreaking ceremony praises namesake Bud Rank. Students at new Everett Bud Rank Elementary build on a strong foundation.
Who is Bud Rank?
Bud Rank was the first president of the Clovis Unified School District when it was formed from taking Clovis High School and several elementary schools and making it Clovis Unified Schools. He continued to stay very active in Clovis Unified and in our community. And was really one of the individuals who created Clovis Unified into the school district that it is today. So of all the individuals that the school board was considering when your school was named, it was a very easy decision for the board to make because of Mr. Rank's not only prior influence but current influence on this school district, on this great school district.
Mr. Rank was really a remarkable person. He was a farmer and also the first president of the Clovis Unified School Board. So Clovis Unified is 55 years old, and Mr. Rank was the first board president when Clovis Unified unified. It was several small districts that came into one, and from the very beginning he valued the core culture that we believe in Clovis, that it's people and that we do what's good for kids.
Dad went to a one-room schoolhouse, and when he was in 7th or 8th grade, he became the janitor of the school. So he had to go to school early. He rode his horse to get ready for the day. So he arrived before everyone else. He was responsible at 7th, 8th grade to have a key to open it up, and at the end of the day to shut it up.
My dad was quite a cowboy. Back in those days, rodeoing was big here in Clovis, and there wasn't all this other extra stuff to do after school. So you could rodeo any night of the week in Clovis. He had a couple of great horses, and in fact, in 1948, he won the Clovis Rodeo belt buckle, which is first place for team roping. And that means two guys go out and rope. One guy ropes the head of the calf, the other guy ropes the heels. And my dad was what you call the heeler. My dad got his start in agriculture back when he was in Clovis High. Well, first he was born on a farm, so he had to take care of the animals and learn how to plow and that type of thing. But he got involved in Future Farmers of America at Clovis High School. His senior year, he was the president. He went on after that to become a state officer in FFA, and he was very proud that his senior year he showed his prize shorthorn at the Cow Palace in San Francisco that actually used to be used for cattle competitions.
And after high school, he joined the Navy. It was the day that Pearl Harbor had been bombed, and the next day he went down and joined the Navy. He was not of the age, so his parents had to sign for him to join the service, and they said, we're not going to sign unless you promise not to get a tattoo.
After high school, he got involved because he was farming with his dad in a number of local organizations. They farmed cotton, so he was involved in the Cotton Gin Board. He also got involved in something called the Agriculture Stabilization and Conservation Service, which has different levels, starting at the very local level through the national level. He had a wonderful agricultural network. A lot of people knew him through agriculture. My dad got to meet and work with President Nixon and Ford and President Reagan. It was actually a presidential appointment for all three of those men that had to be okayed by Congress.
Okay, well, the relationship of Mr. Rank and Dr. Buchanan go back to 1960, and maybe even prior to 1960, before Clovis Unified was formed.
1960, there were 6 elementary schools and the high school, Clovis High. All 6 elementary schools went to Clovis High, but they weren't part of a unified school district that shared transportation or budget or anything else. They were all separate school districts. So the educational leaders in the community, and my dad was on one of those school boards for Fort Washington Elementary, decided we need to protect what we've got before we don't exist at all. And they organized to become a union school district. Then the first thing that had to happen is they had to have a school board, a new school board, and then my dad ran for that first school board. After the school board was elected, they had to find a leader for the school district. And there was a new guy in town called Dr. Buchanan, who was superintendent out at one of those little elementary schools, Jefferson. And some of the board members that were elected wanted Dr. Buchanan to become the new superintendent. Other board members that had been elected wanted one of the old-timers that had always been here in Clovis to be elected. Well, on a 4-3 vote, Dr. Buchanan was elected. Right away, it was a huge fight after that. One night after a very late board meeting, they were all going late because there was so much arguing going on. One night, my dad walked out and all the windows in his car had been broken. So that's the kind of thing that was going on. And this is for the sake of education. But my dad had backbone and he stuck with it. So eventually, in 1964, things got so bad that there was a real war. And it's what's called a recall. The 4 people that were supporting Dr. Buchanan were put up for recall. We split the community completely. During that recall campaign, before the vote was taken, the 2 sides, the 3 and the 4, decided, you know, this community can't go on like this anymore. Whoever wins this election, the other people are going to walk away. But my dad, bless his heart, stuck firm and had backbone and stuck it out. Supported Dr. Buchanan, and Dr. Buchanan told me recently that without people like my dad supporting him, those 4 board members, this district would never have happened.
There was a time when both of them were very, very interested in football. They would go to San Francisco 49er games and they would go to Oakland Raider games on Sundays. And on the way up there and on the way back, they would talk about what they need to do next in Clovis Unified. Because if maybe some of your parents or grandparents understood when Clovis Unified was formed, it was not the school district it is today. There were not the great fields that you have at the elementary schools or the stadium that you have at Buchanan High and at Clovis High. It was the result of all of the work that Mr. Rank and Dr. Buchanan put through. They worked together for many, many, many years, and after Bud Rank left the community and went to Washington, D.C., they stayed connected. And when Mr. Rank came back, they stayed connected. And after Dr. Buchanan retired from Clovis Unified Schools, he was still very connected to Bud Rank. And I think if you ask Dr. Buchanan the impact that Bud Rank had on his life, not only as a superintendent, but as an individual, he would tell you that it was enormous.
That week before school, there was a meet and greet and let's look at the facilities, and that was fun. So I always try to make sure Dad came on carnival night. He felt very proud to have been recognized to be able to have a school named after him. It was like the little crowning glory to be able to move here, to be able to start a school And like with Sylvia and Ryan, they wanted to have traditions. What are the traditions that we want to start to last forever?
Well, Mr. Rank's school is near and dear to my heart because I was the superintendent of the school district when the board identified the need to place a school in the Harlan Ranch area. And I think if you take a look at the facility that you have, it's a little bit different than most elementary schools at Clovis Unified in that it has a tile roof. It has a very, very unusual type fence. It's not just a chain link fence around the school. So your elementary school, the Bud Rank Elementary School, is different facility-wise than most elementary schools in this district. And then in addition, I had the pleasure of appointing your first principal, Miss Sylvia Borges, as the principal of your school.
When I was named the principal in February, they had already selected the colors for the school and the mascot. And Mr. Rank told me about that process. He said that the students who were going to be going to Bud Rank that year were at a meeting, and I think they held it at Dry Creek because that's where most of the students were at. And he said he was all prepared. He brought all these different colors, mascots, with some ideas to give the students and the parents about what the school colors should be and what the mascot should be. But during that meeting, the kids came up with the ideas, and he was so impressed with their reasoning for coming up with the colors and for coming up with the mascot that he decided he didn't even show them what he had in the bag because he really felt like the kids needed to pick the mascot. And so they picked a raven, which is a very strong bird. And Mr. Rank said that he totally related to that selection of a raven because his family had a pet raven, and it was called Basil. And here's a picture of Mrs. Rank with their pet raven. And when Mr. Rank went around to all the classrooms, he used this poster to talk about their experiences. And this raven became a family pet. And how ironic that that was the mascot that the students said they wanted to pick, because as they researched what a raven was, it was powerful, it was proud, and so that's why they picked the raven as the Bud Rank Elementary School mascot.
So when the committee finally made the recommendation to our governing board and they accepted it, then it was really fun because the governing board named it after Mr. Rank, and then he came over and started meeting with the kids. And we started working on school colors, and we started working on the mascot, and he started telling stories about this raven that they used to have, they trained at their house.
Dad loved having the raven. I thought it was great having a raven. In fact, I'd come in the morning, early in the morning, and did you see the ravens that would be here at the school? And I'd get pictures of them on top of at the peaks, and the raven would just be sitting there and making their noise.
Then he was real involved with the school when it first got started, and maybe some of you remember seeing him and being on campus before he got a little bit sick. But there was a time he had never missed a Friday game day. He brought his lawn chair out here and sat around because he loved the kids. He really did love you guys, and it was actually one of the best things we could ever do for someone is to name a school after them and then let them get involved with the students.
Dad's death was real hard on me because it was my last year of teaching. But I'm so glad that he has a school named after him. When he did pass away, I called Mrs. Borges and I said, Dad passed this morning. And I said, could I have the flag flown half-mast? Walking around school, he's walked around the school, he's been in this room, he's been here. It's like his spirit is still here. He's here.
He really was a good man, and he really cared about people. And that goes a long way, no matter what you're involved with. If you're a farmer, an ag business, if you're a teacher, if you're a lawyer, if you're whatever you do in life, if you care about the people around you and help the people around you, that really makes a difference. And that's what sets him apart from most everyone else that I've known is here's a guy that cared about people and about kids in particular.
It's kind of fitting that a man that gave 50 to 60 years of his life to the community, his school now is the center of this great community at Harlan Ranch.